have Jess, and actually right off the bat before we get started, you go by Jess mostly, or is that mostly friends?
I go by Jess mostly, but my business is Jessica Keener Photography. People get very confused by that.
Okay, cool. And then, so the Jess, because I was like, I love your strategic placement of your logo on all the photos. Like, man, that looks so good.
Thank you. I get many comments on my logo placement, and I think it's fun to like play around with, people and like where it is. It's good advertising for me, and it's pretty humorous. But also, like, it helps to keep people from copying out my logo on social media. Mm-hmm. That's a big part of it too, especially since Facebook forces you to make a specific shape now.
Although I do have to confess, just got hired for a gig down here in LA, and I gave them the non-logo versions to promote, and they took the logo versions off of my social media and used that one. And I was like,
that's nice,
there you go. Yeah. So you've got some free advertisement, I guess.
Yeah. Totally.
And before we get started here, I mean, we kind of just jumped into it, but why don't you talk about who you are kind of in the dance community, or who you see yourself as, rather.
Oh, boy.
And I can kind of go on that and talk about how I was introduced to you and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear more about that. I have been dancing for 15 years, like within mostly the Lindy Hop community and some Bow. And I, maybe like a few years into my photography career, I started shooting dance events. And it actually sort of moved my whole career forward by connecting with so many people all over the world in the community and getting a massive like networking referral system from like the dance community. So I think people mostly know me for my dance photography, but I do a lot of like portraits and some weddings and food and other events. But mostly from the dance perspective. I think that's where people see me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, so like what percentage of your photography is dance photography?
As far as events or as far as like promotional material for other people? Or a combination thereof?
Just a combination. Just
maybe like 10% of what I do or less is dance.
Okay.
Photography specific, I would say. However, as far as my clientele, many people hire me that are dancers that know me through the community, but for other types of photography.
Gotcha.
So like I'll do headshots for people, or I'll do another type of event for them, or I'll shoot they'll like fly me to the other side of the US for like their wedding or something like that. So I've done a lot of work in that realm too,
awesome.
Of dancers. Yeah.
And do you would you say that you have like a specialty as far as like kind of your brand of photography, or like what things that you cherish for your for like your style or anything like that?
Well, I always say I try and document like the best version of that person.
Okay.
So like, I think that like making people feel comfortable in front of the camera is the most important thing to me.
Okay.
And I like chat a lot with people, and like, I have like, I think a playful energy when I'm shooting, and mostly it's people responding to me like within the photo shoot. So yeah.
Cool.
Natural style. People comment a lot on my editing that it looks very bold. So I like that part too. I like to hear that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember, like it's definitely more of a social media thing where I'm like coming across your photos. I remember you did Jennifer Runyon. I think you shot her.
Yeah.
And she's a close friend of mine. But I think just overall, like a lot of the, you've done a lot of the professional dancers in the community, and just seeing it, and I'm like, oh man, because photography is one of those things that I've always wanted to get into, but I'm not. It's like lower down on the on the passions type of thing. Like, well, I guess it's not a passion, it's like a hobby. And I'm like, I don't have time or money. I just can't. But I'm still
hobby.
Yeah. But I'm still like a huge fan of it. So I don't know. I've been pretty picky about like in the past of like getting photographers that I want to work with and that sort of thing. So when you posted it to Lindy Focus that you were doing it, I was like, oh my gosh. I like immediately messaged Laura and was like, Laura, what do you think? She was like, how much? And then she was like, okay. So that was the
oh, well, it was such a treat to photograph you both. She was so fun. Yeah.
It's funny because Laura has become like a little sister to me. Like we're like super close, but it's it's
you
like
can tell in the way you interact too. Like even in front of the camera, there's like a clear level of comfort and like friendship, like that you can tell that you share.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna respond a little bit to chat here. Okay. Banana says Balboa. He loves Balboa. Banana, when you commented before we were live, I was like, "Oh, Banana's here. He likes Balboa, and he's from Germany." And then, hi, Jess. How are you?
Hi.
Let's see
I'm
here.
great now.
Question. He says, it's just a question in jest. Do you shoot Minolta, Paraflex, or one of the lesser-known brands like Sony, Nikon, Canon?
I use the least-known brand, which is Canon.
It's like an indie thing.
Yeah, totally. It's pretty exclusive, so... Yeah, I'm not like anti any other brand, but like I like Canon and I've used it the whole time I've been in business. So.
I feel like for a company to like reach out to like the beginner photographers, like once you're in that ecosystem, like in that like getting lenses and stuff, you're like, it's like, well, this is who I am now. I'm a Canon photographer. Right?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly right, because if you update, you have to get all new lenses, like all new flashes, all new cards sometimes, depending, so it's like, it's not like you're just changing your one aspect of what you use. It's like, I mean, you're at least $15,000 in just to switch one camera over to a different, a different brand. So anyway, but I'm comfortable with like just how what the layout of the camera and like where everything is. I'm just very quick with Canon. I'm so comfortable. And even in college when I shot film, I also used Canon. So the familiarity really helps like being, quick when I'm shooting.
Well, that's one thing I noticed when we were doing our shoot is you do one thing I like is that you are not like a hold down the button type of photographer. You're like very, you know what I mean by that? Like you're not like taking a million pictures. You're very deliberate with your choices and your timing and stuff. And I thought that was, I don't know, to me that's very telling of like, oh no, she knows what she wants and is like very, I don't know, it's cool. So,
thank you.
Has that been like a kind of a conscious decision, or are you like at weddings? Are you like, bah, 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 bah?
Oh no. I shoot probably half the number of photos of anyone else I've ever worked with, always. So I've always, like, from the beginning, I've been super deliberate about what I want, and I'm only shooting in the moments that I think are important.
Okay.
So even at weddings, like, I also shoot less than the average photographer. To me, it also saves time later because so much of photography is like the post-production is what's so time-consuming. And so, like, to me, it's not helpful to have like 15 photos of the same thing-ish, like I might as well just take one or two and be like, is A or B better,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Banana says favorite lens and why?
Well, my go-to lens is the 24-70 because the range is pretty good for me to shoot like both events and portraiture. But I would like to have the 51.2. I just like having that couple extra f-stops is nice to have a shorter depth of field like for portraiture. But the 24/70 has been my baby for like the whole time I've ever been in business, and so I really like that one.
Nice.
Good. Yeah.
Johansson says the upside to rapid fire is you get one shot of one couple you can use rather than spending longer on one single shot and not being able to use it.
Well,
do you do photography, Johansson, as well? No, go ahead. I cut you off.
I would say that I'm also not taking extra time to just get the one shot. Like, I would say I'm taking less time to do the one shot, and also I'm not rapid firing.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's like when we were doing our that bend thing. I was like, I don't know how you caught that so well. So, and we'll show the photos in a little bit, chat.
Oh my gosh, the sheer strength from your abs and legs! I was dead, just dead. Just watching you.
I mean, I feel like everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, you guys!" And really, I was like, "Well, it's just like falling with style."
With a lot of swagger is what that
was. So, I do want to nerd out about like the logistics of, especially shooting dancers. But I kind of want to rewind a little bit and talk about one, how you got into photography, but two, how you got into dance. And maybe just kind of give a little background, if you'd like, on where you're from and if that influenced kind of your journey into these creative parts of your life.
Yeah, that's a lot of things. So I grew up in Davidson, North Carolina, which is a tiny town outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. I lived there the first 18 years of my life. And there's not a lot to do there. So I grew up like a friend and I, my best friend, who I still know today, who I've known since I was born, her name's Abigail. We used to like dress up and do these ridiculously terrible like model photo shoots, like with little disposable cameras. I just have massive rolls of film from this time of my life. But I think that sort of started my excitement about like photographing people, because she's always been really inspiring to me even now. So I've always taken lots of photos. After that time of my life, before our phones had cameras, I used to have like a point and shoot that I would like keep in my purse. So like if there was ever a photo I wanted to take, I'd like have a way to document it. But I've always been extremely visual. I've done many, many types of art throughout my life, and I have a hard time remembering things so without like a visual reference. So I've always done just a ton of documentation from the camera perspective since I was very young. And then when I was going to go to college, I was not going to study art at first, but I was judging every college I looked at on the art department, because I told my mom like, oh, I'll spend all my free time there. And my mom was like, oh, well, maybe you should think about some sort of artistic realm if you're like so passionate about this and, you know, you've been into it for so long. And so I ended up getting into Savannah College of Art and Design, and I wanted to do like 10 majors, so I was so excited. And then I was going to minor in photography. And I ended up, because I couldn't choose what I wanted to do, I took a photo class because I thought I was going to minor in it, and at least that would be toward my overall goal. And I really, really loved it, and I ended up sticking with it. And so I ended up getting a Bachelor of Arts with a focus in photography from SCAD. And then I started my business like right out of college. So as I was finishing in 2009, I like started my photography business officially.
And that was the college in the Pacific Northwest?
No, so that college was in Savannah, Georgia.
Oh, okay.
So I grew up in the South, and I lived there like through college, and then I started my business there for 2 years, but I didn't want to live there, and so Seattle was the first place I had like chosen to live.
Okay.
And so I moved my business across the country, restarted, and then I've been here for the last 9 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So along that journey, then at what point did you get into dance?
So my freshman year of college, I had a crush on this really cute boy, and he was a senior and I was a freshman, and I like found out he did swing dancing, so I was like, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to dance, but also he does swing dancing, so I think I need to do swing dancing. So
that's my same story.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so I went and I immediately fell in love with it. He doesn't dance anymore, but he's still a friend of mine. And I stuck with it like from my freshman year of college. And I also took ballroom classes too. So I like went to the swing club and I took ballroom the first year. I mean, like as a club, not as official classes. And then I took over the club when I was a junior. I was like the president, and then I like grew our club there and was a really big active part of the community for the next like 2 years while I was in school.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So, is the dance scene big down there?
No.
Okay.
It's pretty small in Savannah. The scene, there wasn't much of a local scene really. Like we would go to Statesboro. They had a very small scene, and then they would also come to the school dances. But we did a lot of like little promo, like funny promo videos to like show what we were teaching. And I was like, as you can probably guess, very enthusiastic about the whole thing. So we like grew the club from like 20 or 30 active members to like 150 active members. And then, which is pretty good. And then like after I left, like it still maintained a little bit after that. And then I'm not sure how big the scene is now, but I still run into some of the people I taught how to dance like at Lindy Focus or like around when I'm traveling. So it's very cool to like still have a connection in that way. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's super cool.
Yeah.
And then so you moved to Seattle. Was there any specific reason that was top choice?
There were several. One, I wanted to get better at dancing, and Seattle had an extremely active scene that had a lot of really good dancers when I moved out here. Another is I'm extremely food passionate, and the food scene here is like excellent. And also I really wanted to be in like a more open-minded community and with a lot of like things to do in nature, and the landscape in the Pacific Northwest is just unreal. So I'm able to do like all of the activities that I like to do the most in one place. So that's sort of how I ended up out here.
Cool.
Yeah. And I knew I didn't want to live in a small town. I wanted to be in a larger city to like experience that type of living too. So that was a draw as well.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. And then you had to restart the business. Kind of what did you do? Just especially because I'm just starting on my journey as far as like getting my creative business off its feet or on its feet.
So you're standing now?
Yes, exactly. What kind of things did you do to like really promote, like especially I feel like there's gotta be a sea of photographers in Seattle.
Yeah, so it's disgusting how many photographers there are here. But the thing is, like, no one is you. So I think, like, for me personally, I get hired not only for my work, but, like, people want to, like, work with me specifically. And, like, of course, that's unique to any person, right? It's, like, how you connect with the photographer. But to grow my business, like, I think just making genuine connections with other people is the biggest thing. And I think, like, for like the dance community, honestly, was not what I expected to be the main source of my business ever. It was just like, oh, I love dancing and like I want to be a part of this community. And just like the more people that knew about me and that I connected with there, the more my business grew. So that's one thing. I also go to an all women's entrepreneur meetup here. And it's like a really, really supportive space where we all like, talk about all the struggles of being in business and working for yourself. In addition to like supporting each other and some referrals, like I've gotten work from that as well.
Okay.
But the other thing too, like social media, we're so lucky to live in a time now like that. We didn't have social media when I started my business. Like really, Facebook was like you could write on people's walls only, and you had to be a student. Yeah, yeah. I like this. It was like Jess loves sleeping, that would be like the status update, which is still true. But anyway, yeah, so like we're living in a time now where you could just reach so many people for free, and I think like utilizing that social space and connecting with people in a genuine way are like the two biggest things, because like having a verbal like referral system is the hugest part of expanding any business. And I think like being real with people, because we live in such a digital age where we all, even though we're connected, we're also disconnected as well. Yeah. And so like creating an authentic version of you that is relatable is like often what people are drawn to. And if people are drawn to you, they also want to hire you.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's I feel like LA is still one of the few places, well, maybe not few places, but like there's a lot of just surface level connections in LA, even amongst some of the dancers, because it's so like self promo heavy in LA. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like I have no interest in that sort of relationship where it's like, oh yeah, I'm a cool guy because I want to get a job, Yeah.
I think that's like an amplified problem today. Like, especially in cultures like LA with like the movie industry, the TV industry, like all of those things, of course, like people are selling themselves at an even higher level. And I think in any major city, you will find that as well. Like, I think there's some of that in New York too. It's like, who can I use to get to the top?
Yeah.
But, I should say like my business is international, and a lot of my clients are like all over the place. So I don't just target Seattle. Like 90% of my like wedding work last year was like out of state or out of the country. So I think like you don't have to think as small as your local community. There are nice people everywhere. And like if you seek them out, they will find you too. So yeah.
That's cool. Oh, yeah, it was cool because connecting with you, it's fun because I've gone through this process with you, right? It's like connecting with you on social media, and then like, it's like, oh yeah, we're down. Okay, cool. And then like the actual work of getting together it was just so natural. So that was cool. It's like,
yeah. Oh, I'm glad that you felt that way.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was like, to be completely honest, it was almost too casual at first. I was like, wait, are we... I don't feel like it was like, it felt so casual that I felt like the photos that you took, there's no way they could be as good as the photos that I've seen you take. But then you delivered, and I was like, what the crap? She's a wizard. I don't know. So I don't know. It was interesting. It was an interesting, because we felt so relaxed that it was like we both were like, oh, I don't know if we should have like, and then we got them and everything. We were like, yes, absolutely worth the price of admission and everything. So
yeah. Oh, thank you. It's funny that you say that, because I think like a lot of what's interesting, I think also about social media is that not everybody knows, one, what I look like or who I actually am, because mostly they've seen my logo and they don't know what to expect when we actually get together. And so many people tell me how intimidated they are beforehand to work with me. I think that's like one of the most common things in the dance community that I hear. And then like by like halfway through the shoot, they're like, oh yeah, you just laugh a lot and you're not going to eat me. And it's like totally fine, But it takes like, you have to like breach the like preconceived notion of like, oh, this person has photographed people who are also professionals in their field. Like, how will I ever be as good as XYZ,
Yeah.
but everyone is, right? Like, that's the thing, is like, it's my job as a photographer to like make you look the best version of yourself. Like, that's equally on me as it is to like you to bring your best, right? So yeah, I don't know. I'm happy to hear that it felt that way for you.
Yeah,
too.
no, it did. Like, because it was, I think we told you, it was, maybe we just told Matt. I can't remember, like, if I told you that I was nervous about it.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I was definitely nervous. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, exactly. It was exactly that. She's photographed so many amazing dancers. I'm gonna get out there and like not know how to Lindy hop. It's like,
you know. The thing is, like, you still know how to Lindy hop, like, before and during.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And but I give you feedback too, right? Like, we'll look at the photos together and be like, oh, you know, like, I would like my line to be like this instead. And then we'll do a couple more shots, like, with that line different. Like, that's part of what's nice about, like, being a dancer and also a photographer is, like, I know that we're seeing things in ourselves. We're like hypercritical, obviously, because we do something that's visual. And so, yeah, like, I think that communication too is really helpful, like, when shooting.
What have you learned as far as kind of managing people, and maybe like, have you learned anything about kind of like building them into like getting a little bit more confidence out of them while you're shooting?
Yeah, I think like when people do something great, verbally affirming that for them, because I think like part of, you only have like an hour with that person, right? Or that couple or whoever you're photographing. So the most confidence that they can feel in that hour, the more that they will present that to me as well. So like, I think, yeah, giving like positive affirmation to the things that are working and emphasizing that instead of criticizing people for like what they're not doing well is really, really helpful in getting what you actually want from your subject. Yeah, and also just like continuing to talk to people so that they don't feel like, oh my gosh, I have to like be performing for this thing, as opposed to like you said, like you were very comfortable. We were just talking to each other. And so like you end up getting more natural moments because of that, whether you're interacting with someone in front of the camera or with me directly.
Yeah, it was like, I just thinking back on my shoot, like, it's funny, as the shoot, I was like, oh no, we're running out of time, and now I'm feeling, it's like, well, here, I'll do a kick in the air. You know, it's like, let's try this. And like, you know, there are more fun, like more risks taken towards the end of the shoot for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Which I guess they're just perceived risks because there's not really,
right?
You know what I mean? It's like there's no risk involved there.
Yeah, but I think that speaks to your level of comfort at that point, right? Is you're like, oh, this isn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. Like, how can I add even more excitement to what we're doing?
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any fun stories from shoots, or like things that you or even just favorite shoots that you've done that
Favorite shoots that I've done. My favorite thing to shoot actually is food, because I have such a passion for both eating and cooking and photographing food. And so there's a personal chef that I work with here sometimes, and I get to like eat all this delicious, healthy food while we're cooking, and I get to help style. And they're like, you know, food like never feels like it's having a bad day or like is nervous. So there's like none of that part. It doesn't feel like it's fat today. So it's just like there's none of, I don't have to do any coaxing, you know, of like the subject matter, which I have no problem doing, but it just like all I have to think about is the visual element. And so sometimes it's really fun. I like really enjoy doing that. But one of my favorite shoots otherwise that I have done was Christina, who is a dancer, years ago at Lindy Focus. We did a solo shoot where she like started in a suit and stripped down, and then like wore sort of this like very like sexualized like red dress toward the end of the shoot. And we played around with like society's idea of like quote masculinity and femininity. This was like before I feel like there was even more dialogue around all of that as well. So it was just fun to like challenge society in that way through a photo shoot. Yeah, and we worked with like really interesting lighting, and she was just so confident no matter what she was wearing, and so that energy just like really exuded throughout the whole shoot. So I really, really, really enjoyed that one. Yeah, I say those are two of the highlights, like food and that particular shoot were good. Yeah.
Cool. No, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. Now, have you noticed is there any difference shooting dancers versus like non-dancers?
Yes. I would say that like the biggest thing is like overall body awareness. There are a lot of dancers who also aren't bodily aware. However,
yeah, you just shot me. We're
I would say the average dancer has at least slightly more body awareness than the average person. And also because we are passionate about something that involves physical connection in some way. Generally, people tend to be more comfortable interacting with someone in front of the camera in a way that often the average person is sometimes less comfortable doing. The other part is sometimes dancers feel like they need to be more performative with me because of their preconceived expectation of what's going to happen. So that's an interesting to like, you know, get people to relax and still be natural. It's like, yeah, sometimes that's a thing too.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that side of things. Like it maybe even is like overacting.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh, I've seen this photo and this person did this thing and I really loved this thing that you did. Like, I want to recreate that. And so instead of it being something that's like authentic to like how they would move their body, or like, you know, if we just like happen to create this moment during the photo shoot, it's like a facade of that recreated. And sometimes that can be really fun because like I think there's also a place for performative elements in front of the camera, but yeah, that's like definitely something that I have started to deal with as more people have seen my work. Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, that's cool. Or I don't know if it's cool. It's an interesting
it's definitely a
observation.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think the comfort in themselves often comes across more.
Okay, cool.
With dancers.
So do you have any like goals moving forward with your is there a place that you'd like to be photography wise? Or is it just kind of enjoying the journey, a little bit of both? What's as far as like the outlook moving forward with photography?
Yeah, so I've been in business 11 years now.
Okay.
And I've had many, many goals in my business that I have achieved. Like the biggest thing was like I wanted to be an international photographer, and like I achieved that like beginning a few years ago. And I had like a big goal of like traveling really extensively for work, and like I've been doing that the last few years. My next step is I'm actually going to limit a little bit more how much work I am taking, and mostly doing the things that I am most excited about within shoots. Yeah, basically like my photography has like really started to hurt my back actually. So really? Because of the positioning that you're in, you're holding weight in a way that puts a lot of strain like in between the shoulder blades and like in my back. And it's actually curved my spine to the side a little bit. So I'm like always in at least some amount of pain. And when I do like really long day shoots, it's a big problem. So this next year, I'm sort of like restructuring and doing mostly focusing on like shorter shoots and like creative things that I'm excited about. And then, and figuring out what else I'm going to be filling my time with as well. So this year should be a little bit of a shift, but we'll see what happens.
Getting away from, are you I have so many photographer friends that get burnt out on weddings.
Yeah, weddings. Yes, that's exactly right. Weddings are actually, even though I shoot maybe like 15 to 20 a year, which is like I shoot way more of everything else, but for the amount of money that you make per wedding, like that still has been up to this point the largest part of my income.
Right.
So really what I'm saying is like that's mostly the part that I'm replacing.
Gotcha.
And then like I still want to do like, you know, like dance promo and headshots and portraits and food and like things where I'm holding the camera for like 3 hours or less is ideal. Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. You're like with a wedding, you were on for what, 5 or 6 hours sometimes?
No, usually 8+. It depends on the wedding. Like it's a full day, like if you were working a 9-to-5 job, right? But you're holding that equipment the whole day, and I'm squatting and I'm bending over, and like weddings, you know, you're shooting portraits, you're shooting dancing, you're shooting food, you're doing like so many different things, and so it's very, very strenuous on your body. Mm-hmm. And after so many years, it's definitely taken a toll on me for sure.
Do you shoot with a second? Do you hire somebody at all, or?
I can definitely do it solo, and when I travel for work, if people are flying me somewhere, typically I let them opt in or out of having a second shooter if they want to save money on that part.
Gotcha.
But when I work locally, I always use a second shooter pretty much, and I usually use one when I'm traveling as well.
Gotcha.
But it's really just sort of like if there was like some sort of emergency, like, oh my gosh, like my camera and my backup camera both spontaneously combusted or something, like that's really like what they're there for. Right. You know, like that's like a backup. And also like it's nice to have someone who is getting like an additional angle of the same thing I'm shooting, or I can move around less during the ceremony. But I've also done a ton solo, so either way. But yeah, I regularly work with one specific second shooter here that I've trained the whole time I lived in Seattle. So
nice. I had a friend he just picks up second work every now and then, but he was doing a shoot with this photographer, and the bride actually was like, "Can we do a shot like this?" and shows the main photographer the shot, and it's his work. It was his photo. It was the second's photo. So he just laughed about it. It was like, oh, that's funny. It's like to see my like work being like appreciated in a different way.
Yeah, totally.
So.
Yeah, I have second shots on myself. Like I think it's nice to you have a lot of like I think more artistic freedom. Like you're not really required to get like, you know, the very specific shots that you need to get as a lead photographer. And like I do creative stuff also as a lead, but as a second, like, you know, you're filling in and you're getting the moments that are like happening around everything as well. And so you're even more of like a sort of like a voyeuristic outside perspective of what's happening. Gotcha. And so I really enjoyed second shooting actually. It's like a lot lower pressure and yeah, and it's interesting to always see how other people run weddings from the lead perspective. So when I first moved out here, I did a lot of second shooting to network as well, just to like meet other photographers in the community. Yeah, but it can be fun to second too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, so getting back to dance a little bit too, have you, this is just kind of a nerdy kind of, there doesn't have to be an answer to this because it's kind of like in the it's a little bit more ambiguous, but do you think that your photography has influenced your dance or vice versa, I guess?
I don't know that I've thought about it directly in that way before. I do think like I do a lot of different types of art. And I think that, like, I play music, I do, like, watercolor painting, I, like, throw ceramics on the wheel, and I think that all of these different, like, creative elements help your brain to think in a creative way that applies no matter what you're doing. So I think, like, you know, stimulating your brain in that way can create crossover, you know? Um, yeah, so yes, in like a broader sense. Directly, I'm not sure. Like, I wouldn't say like me taking a photo is like equates to, other than like I'm using a lot of the same muscles when I'm like following.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, but I do think like when you do anything creative, like when you have any creative passions, like the more other things that you experiment with, like in the creative arts, like the more excitement you can bring into whatever your specialties are, like from those other spaces. So
cool. Yeah. I like that answer. That's you passed.
Thank you.
With that, do you mind if we watch your dance videos?
Oh yeah, sure. As we talked about before, there aren't that many videos of me dancing, so both of these things are from very recent, like the last month.
Yeah, no worries. It's funny. I really aside from competitions, and it wasn't even, I didn't have a lot of competition videos. Before I started streaming, I had like no videos of me dancing.
Yeah.
And now I literally cannot make it through like all of the content that I have.
Right.
Like it's crazy. Oh, that popped up. Good. Let's see here. Me. No, I will say I don't have a way to share this with you, to watch it with you, unless you want to open up the stream, which you feel free to, or feel free not to. Like it's.
Which thing are you showing first?
The one with Joshua.
Oh yeah.
Actually, let me move this on.
I feel like I might hear like it twice, you know.
Oh
like
yeah.
If I was, yeah. Yeah. So this video with Josh is a friend of mine, Jonathan Ng. He just came out with an album this year, The Sphinx. And I got to shoot the album cover, which was so much fun. And there's one song off there called Maelstrom that I've been obsessed with since the first second I heard it. And so this video is Josh and I dancing to that. And the first little part is choreographed, and then we're social dancing after like the first 15 seconds. But we're planning on choreographing the rest of it here soon.
Cool.
Yeah.
What a great opportunity to dance with Josh too.
Yeah.
So good. He's so fun.
We have like the most beautiful dances, just like walking in different ways, or like playing it, just like changing the rhythm and really like basic movements that are really musical. I really, really love dancing with him.
Nice. All right, we're gonna start this here.
It had also like just rained. This is like a cement rooftop area that was very challenging to move on.
I don't know if you can get more Seattle than this, right? With the rain and
overcast skies. We had like minutes to get this video taken. Like, yeah, the sun was setting.
Ooh. I actually want to watch through that a little bit again. Wait. There we go. Yeah, it's funny because it's just like what we were talking about before. I had no idea what you even looked like. And then so it's like I get to meet you, but then I asked you to dance, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's great at dancing too. It's like, Johansson says the only thing missing is the Space Needle in the background.
Oh yeah, it's really far to the right. We had like 30 minutes. Basically, I got the flu. We like practiced like for 3 hours total. I got the flu. We weren't able to finish up, and then we had 30 seconds to record this before his album release. So I was like, okay, this is the best we can do with location.
Nice.
But yeah, I love that part at the end. Is like, yeah, Photoshop. Yeah, we could put it in there, but
nothing Photoshop can't fix. Nice.
I know.
Okay, this is not. Why is this still showing up? Oh, let me figure this out real quick. There we go. Okay, cool. Then let's pull up the other one real quick here.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to talk about this clip and what?
Sure. So this is just dance practice from last week, but we had like so much fun doing sugar push variations. Either just like coming up with stuff on the fly, or like we watched a few videos that we found inspiring for some ideas. But we were just like playing around with different rhythms and different parts of the sugar push to emphasize. And I think it's in dancing, it's so fun to take something as simple as a sugar push and like really see what you can do with it. And the first part, of course, is just us being sassy, which as anyone who stands with me knows that's part of the bargain.
Nice. I love this too, because this is like such a genuine, like, this is like a genuine sampling of your dancing, because you're just like playing with stuff, right?
Yeah. Nothing was planned. It was like, you know, we had just played around. You probably don't have to show the whole thing, but yeah, anyway, it was really fun. We felt very productive last Tuesday.
Nice. And also shout out to, I don't have a link to his does he have a Bandcamp for his music?
Yes, and he's on Spotify too.
Oh, okay.
Here, I'll send you his Spotify.
Okay, cool. And you did the album artwork, or the?
Yeah, I photographed the album art for that one and his album "Dreaming on My Feet."
Cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, those are two of my favorite things I've shot actually as well.
Nice.
Between the lighting and yeah, this like navy cover for the Sphinx. That was actually shot in a friend of mine's living room, and then the Dreaming on My Feet one is in the studio. But
where are you guys dancing?
In this practice video.
Yeah.
In Lowdown Ballroom, it's some dancers that live here converted their basement into a dance practice space, and you can rent it, which is awesome.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
I love that is this another dancer that's just sitting there?
Yeah, that's a friend of ours who was also practicing. So it's like the practice site is like an open night for anyone who's a part of the Savoy Swing Club, which is a nonprofit in Seattle for like swing dancing. And so like sometimes there's like 6 of us in there on Tuesdays, and then Levi was like just practicing some solo stuff. But yeah, he's in the background. I just sent you a link to Jonathan's Spotify.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's funny, I might actually steal a couple of these. I like he did like a 1-2, or like I'd have to rewind it. Yeah, like in the beginning, there was like, I was like, oh, that's cool. I've never seen a sugar push like that.
Yeah. We were like, he did a lot of like playing around with a mix of different types of rhythms with his feet, and I played around a lot with like kicking or like balancing, like how intricate what he was doing was with like me doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
But we were most excited about like the little foot slide part. We're like, ooh, very sensual for like a sugar push.
Yeah, Hansel, I wish I could rewind it. Here you go. One more time for you. And for me, so I can steal this. Luckily, I'm Facebook friends with her, so I can find this video anytime.
Anytime, yeah.
With their permission, I'm sure I could share it to the Discord, Johansson.
Yeah, so much of dancing for me is just like playful experimentation. So I just, even though it's just a practice video, I feel like that really sums up like what is fun in dancing for me personally.
Yeah. So. No, I also like, I forget that I can do things like this, which is like, no, you keep doing sugar pushes and keep playing with them. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
I don't do that type of thing enough, I feel like.
Yeah.
So this is cool. Very cool.
Thanks.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Cool. So, do you have any, as far as dancing goes, what events are you, you said you're coming to Cowbell.
Coming to Cowbell. I am looking at going to Hot Rhythm Holiday as well. Okay. I'm hoping to book like a shoot or two, and I'll definitely go if I have work. Those are like the immediate two that I'm doing. After that, it's The World Is My Oyster still this year.
Nice. Have you been to Camp Hollywood?
I have not been to Camp Hollywood before.
You should come down. I'm sure you could get work at Camp Hollywood for sure. Although there's not a lot of places. Well, I guess you like kind of like the industrial look. Yeah. I guess LA is full of that. So you're right by the airport.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I'll be doing shoots at Cowbell, so I haven't actually been to this hotel yet, so we'll see where I end up shooting for these shoots. But that's like one of the things is like I'm so inspired by like being in new environments. So I'm looking forward to being in a space I'm not familiar with to shoot. So
yeah, I mean it's like right by the like Newport Pier and stuff too. Like there's so much that you could shoot there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Okay, so Cowbell, you've got possibly Hot Rhythm. It's funny, I was looking, I did 14 events last year, and for me, that's a lot. Like,
yeah, that's a lot of events for anyone, I think.
And then,
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just, and then I started to look at it, and I'm trying to take events off the plate, but then like people have actually started to go, oh hey, you can have a free pass if you live stream. And then like that's just so enticing for me.
Yeah, totally.
So.
Yep, exactly. Most of my work is on the weekends in my job, so I try and mostly travel when it's a slower season in my like other photography, so that I can keep the weekends open for my clients here.
Gotcha. Okay.
So as my year shapes up, then I'm like, okay, actually, like I do have this time. I'm gonna go to this other event. So that's why I only have like Cowbell is like very soon. Like Hot Rhythm is very soon.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I remember when Blake still worked for Google, like he was literally like, I think he decided a week before to go to Harangue.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what?
That might be a little much for me, but I just decided just last week I'm going to Cowbell, so yeah.
But well, actually, even like usually a month out or so, that's when I'll decide. Like Hot Rhythm, they got a hold of me this week, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to come?" And I was like, checked plane tickets, and then. Yeah, now I'm going.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And then I actually did that for Cowbell last year. Cowbell, they Mikey Pedroza was like, "Hey, we need some help," and I was like, "I could do it, I guess." And I went like 2 days before. So
yeah.
Cool. Let's see. I'm so sad Google changed from map pins to countries. Or for countries, and instead started highlighting the borders.
Wait, what?
Oh, like pinning like places you've traveled, Johansson?
Oh,
I see what you're saying. I miss having Harang, the dance hall, as the center of Sweden.
Oh.
Gotcha. Yeah, Hansen's our Swedish viewer, so.
Yeah. Hi in Sweden.
I tell him we've never seen video of him dancing, but I tell him like everyone in Sweden is fantastic, right? Like that's just how it is.
That would be the expectation.
So
yeah. It's interesting how whole countries get reputations like that. Like I feel like if I really want to go to Korea, and I'm like, I just feel like my expectation for the quality of dancing is going to be so high there. Just from like videos I've seen of people dancing from there.
Oh, we have got Dogs and Dancing in here saying Ricard is great. Can attest. All right.
Oh, look at that support.
Wrong Ricard. Yeah. Luckily, I don't think there's any Pauls that are like international teachers, so I can.
Yeah, lucky you.
That's Ellie. I don't know if you know Ellie. If you've met her. I don't usually do last names on Twitch. It's funny. Like Twitch is very like the greater Twitch community. They're very like you probably shouldn't share who you are because most people are anonymous on Twitch. So like trolls and stuff like that. But
smart.
But yeah, let's see. I don't think. Let me check my notes real quick. If I had any other like pressing questions for you, is there anything that you'd like to share, just out of like something that you've been chewing on dance wise or anything like that?
I feel like we really covered like a pretty good range of
things
both
to
my
nerd out
dance
about
and my photography life. But I do think what?
Oh, I was just chat. If you have any questions for her as well, you can can pipe up. Oh, pineapple on pizza.
Oh, so I have very few food allergies, but pineapple is one of the things that really like messes me up. So I actually can't eat pineapple, but it's very delicious, and I don't think I'd put it on pizza. So
No. Okay, interview over.
I'm more for a savory pizza kind of person, but pineapple has its place for sure. My grandma loved pineapple on pizza. That was her one of her favorite things.
Nice. Yeah, I love it. I don't know. I it's something that I was raised with though. So.
Yeah. My dad loves it too, but it's just not for me.
Trombonist, you say. She says, "How about the magic of photoing movement?" Is that a question, trombonist?
Like, are they looking for tips on like how to photograph movement?
Yeah, let's see. Elaborate, trombonist. What do you want to know?
Yeah.
That's actually one thing I noticed. Actually, I think my favorite shot that you did from our photo shoot was it's just the swing out with the white background, but like the flow from my jacket like gave it so much movement. I was like, I love that. Actually,
yeah.
Just for fun, I'm gonna pull those up just so we can kind of look at them a little bit here.
Yeah, it is really interesting, especially with dance photography, how much what you're wearing affects the image. Even like how you wear your jacket, right? Like there's certain movements where like having your jacket closed really emphasizes your lines versus like if you open your jacket and you're doing a swing out, you get so much more of that like elasticity in the movement when it's flowing behind you.
Yeah, I actually, especially after dancing in a jacket at because I don't usually dance in a jacket at all, but I did it at Focus. And I thought it like really affected my posture in a way that I really appreciated. And I think I'm going to try competing in one for at least the first few competitions that I do this year.
Yeah, why not? It is definitely like what you wear affects your movement. And shoes too, like wearing heels versus flats, like completely changes your posture and your space.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because it's like even with the dancers that I know well, like I can even feel that difference, like if they're in heels or in flats.
Yeah, for sure. Did we get any confirmation on or clarity on the movement photo question?
Oh, we didn't. Trombonist, where'd you go?
I could just talk about it, like, if that's helpful.
I mean, sure. Is that like that might be something that's
a lot of this is I get asked this a lot, like how I document dance because well, there's like a few things. One, if you want to see like traces of the movement, you know, you want to have a longer exposure so that you're capturing, you know, where the person was in addition to where they're going. But if you want a really like sharp picture of the movement, I always have my external flash on top of my camera and facing toward the ceiling to bounce the light. So you're getting that one quick fire of the flash is the moment that is documented. And I try and keep my shutter speed at 1/200th of a second as the longest amount of time. So that's been my thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
And the bounce off in like a ballroom, the flash bouncing on the ceiling is enough to capture it?
Yeah, so like at Focus, I've done that. In spaces where the ceiling is a little bit higher than that, I've been able to do that. If the ceiling is too far away, or if it's like a really dark tone, sometimes I'll take like on the flash, there's like the card that like comes up that you can like bounce light off of. There's like a little white card you can like so like sometimes I'll use that to bounce a little bit. Or I'll turn my flash and bounce it off of the whitest wall I can find.
Gotcha.
Because one thing is when you use flash, you can get color bounce, like sort of reflected back on your subject. If you're bouncing off like a brick wall or like a really dark ceiling, maybe that's brown. So the whitest bounce I can find, ideally off the ceiling, is my preference. Yeah, but it does, when the ceiling is really, really high, it does exhaust your flash faster because it's taking more energy to bounce that far away.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes a closer wall can be helpful, but you can just sort of play around with like the angle of how the flash is bent in order to get the bounce where you want it on your subject.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we with that shoot that I told you about in Austin, we were playing with multiple flashes too. Like that was it gave such a different look to dance photos. Because usually people don't have like a second flash at like an event or something, you know?
Yeah. There's someone who shoots in Austin who I think has flashes on stands also. I don't know who it is, but I've seen photos where it looks like there's still light from other lights around the room.
Kevin brought one time to an event.
Oh, yeah?
So, and he was doing, he brought an umbrella and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Is that what they're called?
There are umbrellas or there's a softbox. There's a lot of things you can cover lights with. But you can also just have a flash on a stand and you're like bouncing off in another place just to add more light. You can also play around like with having the flash behind your subject and like creating like what you see from the front is sort of like a rim light. So like a light, you know, that outlines sort of part of their body in the back. There's a lot you can do with lights, but the basic is like bounce off the ceiling. Yeah, that's of course all that's if you're indoor. If I'm outside, it's very different. I'm trying to keep like my shutter speed as fast as possible in whatever the lighting is. So that I'm getting as crisp of a documentation of the movement as I can.
Nice. So this was chat, just so you know, this is the photo that I was talking about earlier with it's kind of subtle, but just the flow from the jacket here. Like I just love that. I love it It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorites.
Oh, good. Did you show them the one where your abs are so strong?
Yeah. So a lot of
that's so impressive.
a lot of our viewers have actually because we used to work on that floral, whatever you call it, like on stream. So they've seen us like fall over and over on this.
Yeah.
So
I thought that was such a unique thing to do in a shoot. I loved it.
No, it was fun. It was so funny because people like driving by were like, yeah, like,
yeah, way to go. Yeah. And we only did it like 4 or 5 times total.
Yeah.
And the shot that I chose to use for you is the first or second one that you did of that too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you really nailed it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that was such a fun fun shoot. Oh my gosh, I did not mean to zoom in. There we go. Yeah. Well, okay, I think that's last question real quick, and we'll end it on this. Maybe I'm going to start ending on this just in general. I like this. What is one of the biggest life lessons that you've learned?
Biggest?
Pressure's on. Biggest life lesson or meaningful, something meaningful that you can share with our viewers that's you've learned over the time dancing or shooting or just living.
Well, I think like the most important thing that I have learned to value is being genuine, especially now in like the culture that we live in. Mm-hmm. I think that there are so many people creating fake versions of themselves. There are so many people who are out there just to use other people. And I think that you will get the furthest by being genuine. And that's something that I've always held really true in my business and in my personal life. And I think that it's something I really value in other people too. Mm-hmm. I know that's not like some like mind-blowing like thing, but it just, the older that you get, the more types of people that you meet and the more negative interactions that you end up having and learning from. And I think like that's something that I really, really value. So I think that's really important.
Cool. No, we'll take it. Like that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for joining. This was fun, and it's always such a pleasure to get to know people in our dance world. Like, it's fun. I used to have somebody tease me about when I go on road trips, like dance road trips with people. I used to interview them about like their like personal beliefs, like belief systems and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like just to kind of, I like feel like I get to know them so quickly. And it's like having this space, I've been able to like have a conversation with you that I might not have otherwise. So thank you for agreeing to do it. And again, thank you.
I'm happy to. This was awesome.
And thank you for the shoots or for the shoot. It was like I will be using those photos forever.
I hope so. I loved that.
Yeah. And then if people would like to reach out for you, just because if we see this on YouTube or people see this on YouTube too, reach out for you to hire you. What's the best way to do that?
Is this the platform I should use my email or not? Maybe not. Maybe Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram would probably be
better.
Okay.
My Instagram handle is Jess Keener Photo, JessKeenerPhoto. Okay. Yeah, and they can just slip right into my DMs for shoots.
And she's responsive too. Like, it's funny with Instagram, I'm like the worst at. I'm like, oh, somebody messaged me on so,
yeah. I get a lot of work from there, so I it's like, that's the thing now, right? There's like Facebook Messenger, Facebook Business Messenger, your email, text messaging, phone call, and Instagram messages, and like you have to be up on all of them.
Yep.
But yeah, Instagram's good because people can see more of my work there too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining. And we will I'm going to do just a quick close. You don't have to be here for this, but you can listen. But just so I don't have to edit it in later.
Yeah.
Everybody, if you like what we're doing here or what I'm doing here on the channel, you can support by going to patreon.com/Pauldances. And you can do as little as $1 per month. And every little bit helps with the cost of like the data plan alone to go to events and stream events and that sort of thing. Also, if you have Amazon Prime, you have the opportunity to link your Amazon account with your Twitch account. And then as part of your Amazon benefits, they give you 1 subscription per month to use on any streamer you want. And that subscription pays me $2.50 per month. So if that's something that is of interest to you, you can go to the website and find out more. It's pauldances.tv. So thank you, Jess, and thank you, chat. I'll end the call with you. So thank you, Jess. We'll see you.
Bye.